The James Show Podcast.
Governor Abbott said he is running for a fourth term. This would be unprecedented. And for a lot of people, that this is just put on autopilot. Hey, who's our current governor? Is he on my team? Well, then he has my vote. And I've noticed a lot, whether it was Rick Perry or Greg Abbott, is a lot of people are upset that when it comes time to vote, it's either Greg Abbott or some Democrat that they like even less than Greg Abbott. Well, it's too late now. This problem has to be, if you don't like the current guy, this problem has to be solved in the primary system. And so in the primary elections, that's going to be the real election for governor. If you're not doing something about that, I don't want to hear it. But my problem with the Greg Abbott getting a fourth term isn't the fact that it's a fourth term. It's that it's Greg Abbott. It's not that I don't like the guy. He seems nice enough. I've interviewed him a couple times on the radio before. Granted, it's been a while. But the problem I have with Greg Abbott is his policies, how he's governed. Of course, he's not the worst. It could have gotten worse than Governor Greg Abbott. And of course, there's plenty of things that he did that I agree with. But I still remember how people performed during the COVID lockdowns. And I am not going to forget that for the rest of my life. I am never going to forgive the people who supported closing churches and schools and funerals and businesses and concerts and sporting events and just ruining lives over something that turned out to be completely unnecessary. Not just unnecessary. It didn't even help. The people that did social distancing, we've now done the research on it. We've done the studies. They didn't have any different outcomes than the people who didn't, or the people who turned it off before they did. Closing schools, churches, restaurants, all of it is statistically not even measurable in the post-analysis studies. So that's number one. But number two, there's so much stuff that's gone on under his watch that I disagree with that he should be speaking out against, but he speaks in favor of it. Like the subsidies that State Rep Brian Harrison had mentioned in the previous segment, $100 million to Hollywood. To what? Subsidize Hollywood? Hollywood kind of hates us. I don't like subsidizing any industry, much less one that hates us, much less one that's just dedicated to making me the bad guy in every movie. But I remember that. I remember all these other silly programs that get passed, like billions of your taxpayer dollars for rural broadband access. Like the thing that this state really needs is for some guy that's living out in the middle of nowhere to be able to download at more than 300 megabits per second. 300 megabits per second, this whole state's going to grind to a halt. Meanwhile, those are fantasy speeds compared to what we were dealing with 20 years ago. But no, it's all policy. I have no problem with the fourth term, actually. If this guy was governed the way I wanted to, I'd support a fourth term. So then I have to go ahead and address the next hard question. If not Abbott, who? I don't know. Who are some Texans that you think would govern better, that have some name recognition, that have maybe some political experience? Brian Harrison, the guy that was on the previous segment, we don't know him that well. He's only been around for a few years, but I think it'd be hard-pressed for him to be worse than Abbott. I like the idea of a non-politician like Joe Rogan, who's just chilling in Austin. He's already living down there. Maybe we could just slide him over. Democrats should be able to like that. He spent most of his life as a Democrat. Still a Bernie bro. That's a nice little compromise. Elon Musk probably doesn't want the job. It'd be a demotion for him. But in my next segment, my guest, Alan West. That's a solid maybe as well. 800-288-9227. This is Joe and Grapevine on WBAP. What do you think about a fourth Abbott term, Joe?
Well, James, first off, honor and pleasure as always. I have to disagree. I rarely disagree with you, James, but today is going to be one of them.
That's all right.
And I just think the reason is, in my opinion, James, is that, first off, look at everything the Democrats have been doing for years that we're finding out and digging up, at least with Governor Abbott, especially with everything that's been going on. I'm not going to go down the list. You're greater at doing that. We need to know who stands with us. We know he stands in our side in so many things. And I remember, James, and I don't think I'm wrong, and it was also in Casey during the morning, both of you have complained not just about Abbott, but about how he ran into a wall with the Republican leadership in our House and Senate in the Texas, not national, but Texas. And the leadership has not been in the direction a lot of us want to go. And Governor Abbott knows this, and he has to compromise and work with them. God knows the secret or behind the scenes phone calls that he gets in order to make these compromises to get done what he can get done. But James, look back on some of your very programs. You have complained about top leadership. Have you not?
Oh, of course. Look, just because there's other terrible politicians doesn't mean Greg Abbott's not one of them as well.
Well, and another thing I have a concern for, not having someone to put up there, kind of reminds me of Marjorie Taylor Greene when she wanted to vote out the Speaker of the House. And her and a couple of just people could do it because they said if there was one or two things they disagree, they were going to have a vote. But the problem, and even Dan Bongino, that was on before you came on, even he was saying, well, who do you have to put up there? They had nobody. There was nothing in any ideas of her thinking. We can say Marjorie Taylor Greene, but yet if you're going to go ahead and go a direction, have somebody to put in there that we all can get behind. With Governor Abbott, man, I support him in so many things, but the opposition he's had to deal with, that's my concern about it. I still love you, James. Big time, buddy.
No, understandable. All right, well, thanks for calling in and sharing. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, one of the guys that would be on my short list to answer his question. Well, if not him, who? Maybe an Alan West. Maybe a state rep Brian Harrison can step up to Governor Brian Harrison. But no, all those points were well taken, sir. Good call. But Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, we're going to ask him what he thinks about both the shutdown drama, because he used to be in the House of Representatives in D.C., and the idea of Abbott for a fourth term because he's the former chair of the Republican Party in Texas. Elizabeth and Electra, you're on WBAP.
Hey, so here's the thing, and in the end, it may or may not surprise you, but to start off with, in the aftermath of the mass shooting at our church down around San Antonio, my kids and I had the great opportunity to actually meet Governor Greg Abbott in person. Got a picture of him with my kids. And so I look at it often and I wonder about who the real person is. He seemed very down to earth and very real when I got to meet him, just like anybody else. So I like that in a person, but I do, like you, I have questions. Where I live, we live kind of out in the sticks, and so we don't have internet where we're at. And so I'm not happy with that because I've been struggling as a single mom with special needs twins, and the easiest way that I could make that better is to get an internet job, and I don't have that opportunity because there's an obstacle, and it's because we have no internet where we're at. That's one thing. All this stuff that's come out with on the Ep sign about Hollywood, I don't like the fact that we're inviting them here. Although that the ones that are coming here, I hope that they remember and vote differently than what they did back there. And I want them to be, I hope that they're conservative, and I hope that they're not pedophiles.
Okay, so Elizabeth, overall, Governor Greg Abbott for a fourth term, is that a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
I actually don't know, but I am pro-MAGA. Anybody who is truly endorsed by Trump, I would vote for. And I know that seems silly, but I think Trump overall has done a great job for our economy. He's fighting against others. There's a lot of stuff that's going down, and there's a lot of obstacles and a lot of people trying to prevent him from accomplishing his things. But still, Trump endorsed a candidate that's truly endorsed by him, I would vote for them.
All right, good stuff. Thank you for calling in. That's Elizabeth and Electra. All right, my next guest, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, coming back on the James Show. And let's just start with that. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, you're one of the big political names here in the state of Texas. Your reaction to Governor Greg Abbott saying he's running for a fourth term?
Well, I don't know about being a big political name. The governor has every right to be able to do so. And I think that people have to come back and look at his record. And I wish your previous guest would do a little bit more research than just sitting and saying that trusting and dependent upon Donald Trump's endorsement. I mean, Donald Trump even endorsed our current Speaker of the House, who aligned himself with Democrats to become the Speaker of the House. So, I just, again, as she was saying, all these people that are looking to move here to Texas, I understand the individuals that are doing it, but I'm very nervous about when we have these big corporations and especially these financial industries that are going to be moving out of New York City coming here. We need to make sure that people are voting the right way and not just taking advantage of the incentives, the financial incentives that they get for coming here to Texas.
Right. And because if it's only for the incentives, when the incentives run out, do they stay? And so that's a big question that comes up anytime this happens in any state. But the second biggest topic that we're talking about today, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, is the shutdown. And so there's been details of a compromise that are announced. It hasn't actually been voted and passed through the Senate yet. But what do you think about this shutdown situation finally ending?
Well, I think you have to ask yourself, which a lot of people are asking, why did the Democrats do it in the first place? So let's be very honest. They were the one that voted some 15 times to keep the government shut down. They voted against reinstituting SNAP benefits. They voted against essential personnel being military, TSA, air traffic controllers being paid. So what did they get out of it? There's this whole thing about they get to bring forth legislation in December about these Obamacare subsidies. But really and truthfully, James, let's analyze this. Why is it that the quote unquote Affordable Care Act needs to continue to have subsidies to make it affordable? Obviously, it's not affordable. And obviously what is happening is that the insurance companies are getting rich off of Obamacare and the fact that we are forcing people to be on it. Once upon a time, you had health savings accounts, but what did Obamacare do? Obamacare got rid of health savings accounts, which enabled people to take a certain percentage of their money targeted for their health care payments and plans and programs, and it was non-taxable. And so Obamacare forced people to come off of that by eliminating the health savings accounts program. So I don't see what the Democrats got out of this other than trying to inflict pain on the American people. And now they're just listless and lost. And if you listen to Senator Angus King, he said they lost the messaging battle.
Well, I can see that. All right, we're talking with Lieutenant Colonel Allen West about what's going on with both Texas politics and the national politics. But let me switch gears here. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. WBAP is doing a special broadcast at the National Medal of Honor Museum in Arlington. And you, as a veteran, how important is this day to you?
Well, it's incredibly important. And also we need to remember that today, the 10th of November, 1775, the United States Marine Corps was founded in Tun Tavern in Philadelphia. So this is the 250th anniversary and birthday for our United States Marines. So Semper Fidelis to them. But when you think about veterans, you think about legacy. When you think about the fact that before there was a United States of America, there was an Army, there was a Navy, there was a Marine Corps. And the legacy of young men and women who continue to stand up, step up, raise their right hand to take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, that's the reason why we have this great nation. So we should have Veterans Day every single day here in the United States of America. But I thank God that we take this one day to really focus on these veterans. And I'm down here in Naples, Florida right now for a big veterans event that we'll be having. And I'll be on stage with Lee Greenwood tomorrow night.
Very cool. All right. Thank you very much. This is Lieutenant Colonel Allen West on the James Show. Appreciate your time, sir. We're having a special broadcast tomorrow in honor of Veterans Day, WBAP. We don't get out of the house very often. We're the kind of like the old people getting our little comfortable chair. I'm in my lazy boy right here. I've got my remote control. I've got my dog at my feet. No, we're actually getting out of the house for Veterans Day, and it's an amazing event. It's for the Medal of Honor Museum that just opened up in Arlington. It's that building that's on stilts when you're on 30 and you're going past the stadiums, Six Flags on your left, Wet n Wild on the right. That new building that's on stilts, that's the Medal of Honor Museum. Now, I haven't actually been in there yet, but Casey's going to be broadcasting live from 9 to 11. Then from 11 to 2, the morning show is going to be there, and you can have a meet and greet with them. But I'm told that there is a tour that's going to happen around 11-ish, so you may want to get there a little early, like 10:30 or so, catch the end of Casey. And I think the morning show is going to be taken on a tour. And if you want to go on the tour with the morning show, I am told that is something, because they were saying, James, you may want to get there by 11 so you can do the tour with the morning show. And I'm like, just us in the morning show? No. Other people will be on the tour too. So if you want to be a part of that, you want to be there before 11 is what I'm told. So I'll be doing my broadcast live there from 2 to 5 after that. And then probably number 3 on the list of the top 3 stories you need to know about today is Governor Greg Abbott announced he's going to be running for a 4th term. And I don't like the sound of that, not because it's a 4th term, because it's Greg Abbott. 800-288-9227. This is Jackie in Denison. You're on WBAP.
Hello. I'm not going to vote for Abbott again. I like that Brian Williamson. I'd like to see them have a debate.
Harrison.
I've never heard Abbott even respond to any of the things he's saying. And I do know that I paid my house off 20 years ago, and between my taxes and my insurance, it's more than my house payment used to be.
It's a crime.
So I can't own my property. I rent it from the government. And I can't see that any of them have done any good. We've got John Cornyn. He needs to go.
All right, Jackie.
These old people, they need to go.
Now, you don't have your own radio show where you can talk to like 100,000 people in North Texas. Not that I'm bragging. I'm just saying you're one person. But you need to tell everybody in your orbit that story, because I find it real hard for even the densest person to not see how not just illogical but immoral the property tax system is. Do we do that for any other property that we have? Like I had to pay the sales tax when I bought this laptop. Do I have to come back next year and pay the sales tax again? Do I have to come back and pay sales taxes every year after I bought a car, or sales taxes every year after I get a phone or a number 2 pencil? So it's
yeah. And you just can't ever own your property. And we're a veteran. My husband put 20 years in. We paid our house off. We thought we worked hard, made double, triple payments so we could get it done. And we're right back where we started. It just doesn't make any sense when your insurance and your taxes are higher than your payment was 20 years ago.
Okay, now this does make sense to a couple of people. It makes sense to the people who have so much money they don't care. It also makes sense to the people who are not successful enough to even be in the property ownership game. And I'm not like trying to denigrate them for not owning property, but there's a lot of people out there who live in apartments. There's a lot of people out there who are renting. There's a lot of people who live in a house that, their parents left them, or they're living in like their aunt's basement or something. There's a whole lot of people who just aren't affected by property taxes. They don't care if they double or triple over the last 5 years. It doesn't affect them one whit. So I don't expect them to get it. But for all the people out there who are paying property taxes, you can't tell me your life would be better off if you got to keep that money instead of sending it to Austin.
You're right. You're 100% right. And there are other issues like these lithium battery storage plants that are coming in. They're not being regulated. We've got them next to schools. We're scared to death. We got volunteer fire departments that don't even know how to fight the fires. And I've not heard one word from any elected politician. None of them. They're just sitting back watching it happen. And there are going to be people hurt by this. And I don't understand. Where's our representation?
Well, Jackie, the one thing that this man has going for him is the next question is, if not Greg Abbott, who? Who has the name recognition? Who has the momentum to even challenge him?
Well, if that young man that keeps talking, I've been listening to him on Facebook and been listening to him when he comes on the news shows and stuff. If he will just run, we'll help.
You're talking about Brian Harrison again?
Yes.
All right.
I'm tired of the same people.
Look, you're familiar with him because of this show. I'm familiar with him because of this show. But most of North Texas doesn't listen to this show, and almost none of the people in Texas outside of North Texas listen to this show. So he does not have name recognition. Just because we know his name, he doesn't have a big enough name. No one in Houston really knows this guy. No one over in Amarillo or El Paso or San Antonio or, maybe even Austin know this guy. He's got a long ways to go. I would like for him to do it.
I'm telling all my friends about him. I tell everybody, hey, at least give him a chance to know what we're going to get with Abbott.
Well, good. You know what? Don't discount that. For, I can tell 100,000 people, but if 100,000 people tell 2 people, then you have double the power of the James Show. So do what you can with your influence. Tell them about the property taxes. Tell them about Brian Harrison or anyone else that wants to run. I mean, like Alan West.
We got Trump in office. everybody started saying we're sick of this crap, and we sent Trump because there was no one else.
And that's the lesson. Trump got in office because we all knew his name. We all knew who he was. He didn't have to go out and do a whole bunch of extra work. But great call. That's Jackie and Denison. And here to give us an assist is local rock star Mark Reznicek, the drummer for the Toadies. And welcome back to the James Show, Mark.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's roll through the artists who got inducted over the weekend here. Just to set the stage, artists become eligible for the Hall 25 years after their first music release. And number one, Outkast. Do they deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Rez, go.
Yeah, Outkast is great. I think last year we had the discussion about whether hip-hop groups should be in there, but setting that aside, obviously Outkast are amazing, and sure, they belong to be there.
Well, I think a lot of people are a lot easier with Outkast being in there because there's quite a few of their songs where they actually, play instruments. And when they do live shows, they often, not always, but often have a full band that's actually playing music live on the spots.
Right.
So they're a little more rock than a lot of people expect if you're not familiar with their work. I think the next one, Bad Company, that's a shoe-in. Anyone have any arguments with that? No.
Nope.
All right. Cyndi Lauper was the next one. This one's kind of like a maybe for me because she did have some big songs, but Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Time After Time, True Colors, and then Nothing. So, I mean, was that all on the same album?
I think she had maybe 2 or 3 albums that all the hits came from. But there's rock style guitars and there's drums and whatnot, so it qualifies as rock music in my opinion. And she's had a long career, so. And she's one of my wife's favorite artists, so I'm not going to say no to Cyndi Lauper.
Well, yeah, it's not that we don't like her. It's just this comes up every time we have the discussion. Is really one good album, is that enough to catapult someone into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? So that argument will never go away. Soundgarden, first off, I didn't know they had formed in 1984. I don't think I was familiar with them for like 10 years after that. But yeah, they seem to be someone that was destined for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame long ago.
Yeah, they definitely deserve to be there.
All right. Now the next one is another one of those questionable ones. Salt and Pepper. Are they rock? Not really. Well, do they kind of have some rocky songs? Do they play with the live band? Do they have any rock elements? Not really.
Yeah. We actually played a show with them once, like 25 or more years ago, and they put on a great show. But yeah, is it rock? I don't know. Yeah. Rock adjacent.
Rock adjacent we will take. And doesn't the Spinderella live around here? Isn't she like a Dallas resident or from here or something to that effect? Their DJ?
That might be right.
Yeah, I remember I saw her at an event, and I didn't know she was local, or I was under the impression she was local. Now, the next one falls under the previous questionable criterion. And if you're just joining us, this is Mark Reznicek, drummer for the Toadies. We're going through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction list from over the weekend. Chubby Checkers. Now, this is a guy who really did just have one song. He had The Twist, and if you want to be generous, he had Let's Twist Again. But this is the question. Definitely rock and roll, definitely a hit. But does one album, is that enough to catapult you into the Hall of Fame? This is really pushing it in my view.
Yeah, it's kind of pushing it, but like that hit was so big and so all pervasive, that I think the influence that it had on, some of the artists that came after probably makes him important enough in the grand scheme of things to make him qualified.
Well, we don't want to upset the giant Chubby Checker fan base out there. I'm sure they're absolutely rabid. The next one, Joe Cocker. He's an English singer who we probably, if you don't recognize the name, you'll recognize a few of his songs. But he seems like the previous generation's Bryan Adams.
Yeah, he's a great artist. My older brothers were really into him, so I grew up listening to some of his records. And I don't think people remember that he was actually really huge for a while there in the late 60s, early 70s. Like, He did a tour called Mad Dogs and Englishmen with like a cast of thousands, and it was like the biggest selling tour of that year. And there was even a movie documentary made about it. So even though he's not that well remembered nowadays, he was pretty huge in his day. So I think I'm surprised he's not already in there, really.
Wow, the number one for a while there. That's cool. That kind of makes you wonder why he didn't get in sooner.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Okay, the next one, the White Stripes. Of course, I think they deserve to be in there. They're definitely rock. They've definitely had long, sustained success. They're definitely big enough. It just makes me feel old because I feel like they're a current band, and apparently they're at least 25 years old, so I guess I'm a geezer now.
Yeah.
Warren,
join the club.
Yeah, Warren Zevon, he is in. He passed away in 2003, so this is kind of a little late for him to enjoy. But does he deserve to be in there? I don't know. I'm not going to criticize a guy who's no longer with us. Carol Kay, I've never heard of her, but she's being inducted as an American session musician. Do you even know her name?
Yes. She was a member of the Wrecking Crew, which is a group of studio musicians in L.A., and she probably played bass on more top 40 hits than anyone in history. So
Good Vibrations. These boots are made for walking, and Barbra Streisand's The Way We Were. Wow, that's a hell of a resume. We have another producer and songwriter named Tom Bell, and Nicky Hopkins, another session musician, and then another producer and executive, Lenny Waronker. I've never heard of those people, so we'll just let that one slide. You guys got some shows coming up, the Toadies?
At the end of the year, our annual trek around Texas will be in Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin, Houston. We do it every year between Christmas and New Year's. So.
And opening for the Toadies is Jarrett Lee Reddick, which when he includes his middle name, I guess he's doing his country stuff.
Yep, that's right.
All right, fun stuff. Mark Reznicek from the Toadies, I appreciate your assist, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, James.
All right, that's Mark Reznicek from the Toadies running down the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you have any strong opinions about that, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Donald Trump went to an NFL game yesterday. You'll find out how it went on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.